when I was young. Life unafraid, I soaked up the sun, and I lived for the day. It's clear to me now that I was my own best friend. Okay, this may go a little bit longer than normal. I want to kind of present a parable of sorts. A lot of what I believe, actually I'm going to preface it first, apparently. A lot of what I believe comes from I have an inner analytical drive. I like to analyze. I like to explore. I like to take things apart, see how they work, and put them back together. I got in trouble when I was young because I took my electric train, the engine apart. Same goes for the human being. This whole experience that I've had, a whole crap load of introspection and examination, and having to say, this isn't true because it carries too much fear. I have to balance it. I have to find a real truth, something that is more truthful, more connected to where I sit right now. I also have a strong interest in like artificial intelligence and everything. I am enamored with metaphysics. I have a deep curiosity of religion. So everything that has always compelled me has really come together to create this notion. This notion started for me years ago as an epic poem. It was an ambition of a writer to write this epic poem. But this, to me, has significance. So I'm going to try and go through this without being too wordy and too long. We, as entities, as beings, are essentially made of, the substance of our experience is love. Well, what we call love, I believe it is, it can be, we can take the label of love off because even love puts certain conditions upon it. It is the bundling of joy, freedom, and unlimited creativity. Just imagine that you have nothing at your back stressing you. And all you have is the beauty of being present, the joy of expressing. You have the freedom to do whatever you are drawn to. And you have consciousness, which is not what you are, but what you use. So you are this, let's just say, a point of consciousness in a lot of the texts that you might read. The I. In metaphysics, the sixth chakra, the third eye, the eye of being, the center. And in that center you sit, at the center of you, by the way. The earth does not get angry at a hurricane when it destroys the surface of the earth. It doesn't get angry because it's all a part of the dynamic. There are parts in this universe, places in this universe, where it is so cold that if we experienced it, we would die instantaneously. There are places in this universe that are so hot that if we experienced it, we would die instantaneously. But does that make any of that wrong? No. It just makes it not real useful to us as individuals. I sit right here now at my desk. If I reach to the right, I say, that's to the right of me, and then the other way to the left of me. But if I cease to be here, which way is right and left? Our being in our experience in this body defines the thresholds and the pleasure and pains that we experience. They aren't inherent in the universe. The universe knows humongous temperatures in the centers of stars and 0 Kelvin in the depths of space. And yet the human being, the human body, can only tolerate a certain range of temperatures. The 0 Kelvin to god-awful hot is still just as good to the universe. It's just not good to the physical body. But that does not make it bad or wrong or evil. Our being here defines our experience. In some ways, it's very much like quantum physics, wherein our observation of the circumstance affects the circumstance and the flow and the outcome. So we are consciousness, that feeling of being. And the only way to describe that feeling of being is if you can imagine if you've ever had in your life a point and a time when you've had absolutely no worries, when everything was safe, you had nothing you had to do, and you were just utterly present in the moment with nothing but the opportunity to do whatever it was you wanted. That is the closest I think we have here to that experience of being. I see it in my mind as a coherent field that we sit in as beings of consciousness. And we draw from that experience of being in that field. That field is home. That field is perfect. That field is wonderful. That field knows no time, no space. It just feels like I could sit here for eternity, which we do, by the way, because there is no time. So you are at this point of consciousness in this field of awesomeness. And your conscious experience is what's registering it to you. And when you express, it feels like joy. And when you decide and look and wonder, it feels like creation. Now imagine a point of that has no experience around it. Erase all your life experience. Erase all your past life experience, your future life experience. You are nothing but a point of consciousness in this expression of awesomeness, expressing joy always and wondering of everything. But you want something to wonder in and create. So, and here comes the parable part. You, as this point of consciousness, now enter into a gnat. Tiny little annoying bug. And once you enter into the body of a gnat, you are now gathering experience. I couldn't exactly say what that would be. I don't remember seeing through the eyes and the experience of a gnat. But you gather that experience in the brief life of a gnat. And then when you die, when the gnat dies, possibly at the long tongue of a frog, you enter back into now netness. Because the only thing you haven't experienced that gives you any sense of anything other than the beautiful, wonderful field of awesomeness is natness. So now you're natness. So you try natness. You try entering into a gnat again a few times. And now the experience of being a gnat is pretty mundane. All right, this is, it's what I expected. I lived for a while. I hovered around some shit. And I was eaten by a frog. All right. So what else is there? Maybe a grasshopper. Maybe eventually a chameleon, a lizard, something of a reptile nature. And then, okay, I've experienced this reptile for a while. Now, everything about it seems to be pretty straightforward. There isn't anything real new in it. So, wait, let's try a bunny. Something that has more emotion. Or then maybe a cat or a dog, where the experience becomes more complex. And then you do that for a while, and you're like, okay. And then every time you live, you die, and then you go back to dogness, let's say. Because dogness, say, well, that's what you chose. And you found dog to be cool, and you live in dogness, where you feel the dynamic of dog and all the other interaction of dog. And so you do this into all these less complex forms to gather the experience of and preparation for, say, the most complex, mentally, emotionally, physically, animal in this planet, the human being. So now someone says, "Hey, you've done all that, and you seem pretty bored with it. You want to try this one? You've been whipping a horse with a horse-drawn carriage for a while, or a horse-drawn cart. Now here's this Maserati, or a newer vehicle that has Bluetooth and all sorts of internet connections and self-driving and self-parking. And so you just say, okay, let me try this more complex vehicle. There's a lot to learn, isn't there? Once you get into something, you've been holding the reins on a horse. Now you got to get in and deal with all this new. So you do that for a while, and a while. You live, you struggle, you pass, fail. Well, not pass, fail. You try, you fail, you try, you succeed. And then you die. And then you live in the human realm. Now, when you enter into the human being, you gain one thing that all the rest never had: self-awareness. So now you've experienced the notion and the feeling and the experience of self-awareness, because the human body is equipped to bring enough of spirit in for self-awareness. So once you become self-aware, you become an individual soul. And granted, your soul is still not encapsulated in a little box. It still stretches out into the expanse of life. But you are now, through consciousness, aware of yourself as an individual. And that experience stays with you after death. And then you start to realize, wow, I was a gnat. I was a frog. I was a bunny. And then I was a dog. And then I was a human being. And human being right now is the apex of my experience. The point of all of this is to learn to give that beautiful, complex shape to the spirit that originated out of nothing but consciousness and that field of awesomeness. And you surrounded yourself with memory and experience. And you have all of that memory and experience to draw from. You won't notice it per se in each individual experience in life, because each time you come into the world, now that you're a human being, you have this blank slate of a body and brain to configure and to shape and to mold and to create with. Problem is we've taken the experiences of our bodies and our lives, and we've started to categorize them. This one's wrong, this one's right, this one's wrong, this one's right. The truth is, much like the sun being super hot and the depths of space being super cold, or that hurricanes don't offend the earth. The problem is the truth is, I should say, is that every experience that we have is a part of the landscape of being human and is not considered right or wrong. I still have trouble with this because I just felt it when I said it. Because I was sexually abused and I have feelings about the guy who did it. And when I say that nothing that we experience is right or wrong, I get a little conflict inside, so I won't pursue it from that point. Or rather, I should say, I recognize that, and it just occurred to me that getting along with each other as individuals is a part of understanding that field of awesomeness. Because, I mean, the truth is when you die, you are much closer to that field of awesomeness than you are here. It's hard to say whether or not when you die that people... You know, there are some people out there that might. Their personality is created in this world. And I don't really even know, and this is just me guessing, that they're choosing certain things of experience emotionally, mentally, that keep them from entering into that awesome field, or that field of awesomeness. Maybe they touch it, maybe they dip into it, but they can't immerse themselves in it because it would be in contrast to what they are pursuing. Things that are more selfish, more to their own individuality. But the truth would be that they would pursue that avenue. And eventually, much like, being a gnat, it would become clear, mundane, and then you would realize, the experience of that field of awesomeness is actually a little better than what I've been pursuing. And I learned a lot through this path, and I did hurt some people, and I do have to try to mend some fences in the end. And it's not to say you should go out and, torture or hurt people, because that's essentially going the wrong direction. In this one, I just wanted to sort of impress something that has been with me for a while in pieces. It has come more together into a whole as an idea. I'm going to make a statement that I don't fully understand myself, but nothing that we ever do or experience on this earth is bad or right or wrong or good or bad. And that is going to cause a lot of people to go, but wait, and it makes me go, but wait too. But there's something about the statement, as it pertains to other things I believe, that I keep going, that may be in the end the truth. I just don't know right now how to place it. The point of this one right here tonight is we beat ourselves up a lot over a lot of stuff. And most of it's just what we've been told when we were young. People's opinions are great. We can hold on to them. We can say, all right, I'm going to file that away. And if it ever applies to anything I deal with, in actuality, thank you. But there's only one place, one experience that truly begins to define. Being in that field of awesomeness, I guess that's what I'm going to be calling it from now on. It compels you to just want to get along with everybody, to forgive. You could say, in Christian terms, it's the Holy Spirit. Problem with the Christians, I'm going to emphasize this. The problem with the Christians is their attitudes and their philosophies take the power away from the individual. They take the power away from the individual. And in certain ways, in certain terms, the Christians gaslight people by saying that you have to wait for the approval of a deity or his son that you don't have on speed dial, you don't have an immediate connection to. What you do have an immediate connection to is that field of awesomeness. And that field of awesomeness has no will, no desire, no want of anything. It just simply is. And unfortunately, this isn't going to say it exactly as I want. It says it in the direction I want. There's more to it than what I'm saying, and so I guess I'll have to speak more on it, because right now I'm at 20 freaking minutes. But the takeaway from this is that underneath everything that you feel afraid of, apprehensive about, concerned with, underneath that, because that's a surface structure that belongs to the brain and aspects of your emotion. But underneath that dwells the field of awesomeness. And if you can get in touch with that, it will flow into the patterns in your brain already and begin to start reshaping them. That, in Christian terms, is allowing Jesus into your heart. Because Christ came here to exemplify that field of awesomeness on this planet. Christ came here to show us that the human being can express as a divine entity on this planet. And that the only way is to get in touch with that field of awesomeness. But there are variations of that expression that we are currently condemning and not condemning and saying are right and wrong when they are just variations. So, all right, as I'm on my third point of thinking I should tie this up, think on that for a while. I hopefully will come back and speak more on it. It's a hit or miss sometimes with me, when and how soon and all that. But sorry, for me, it's not even close after midnight. But I kind of found myself here, and so I want y'all to have a really good night. I really, really do.
You walk on in life, losing the day. Everything is so far away. Isn't it supposed to be that way? At least that's what we're told, to keep us all from going astray. Anyway.